I do think street rods are cool. You know, when you talk to street rod builders and you talk to these guys who build these cars, and they are, you know, the work that they do to them is absolutely insane. Small little custom touches here and there, subtle changes to the sheet metal. I think it's absolutely amazing. I think that if I can capture just a small part of that world and drag it over into this rig, and I can sort of combine that whole street rod, hot rod, off-road rig world, I think I'll be in good shape. And that's the plan in the long run, and hopefully it works out. I know I've said this before, but I promise today is the last day for any type of sheet metal work on this Willys wagon. I just got to take care of a couple key things before I roll this rig onto its side so I can seam, seal, and coat the bottom of the floor, and then it's going to get sent out for all of the filler work. Just a couple of odds and ends, got to deal with the door handles, tail lights, a little bit of work on the firewall, and the hood and the grille. One of the custom touches that's going to make this Willys wagon truly one of a kind is making the 2004 TJ grille and hood flow with the wagon body. That means narrowing the grille to fit the frame correctly, and then making the pie cut hood match up with both the grille as well as the classic Willys body lines and work with my custom firewall. No easy task, but it's going to look good. This next sheet metal modification is not something that you see done very often on off-road rigs, but it is pretty common in the hot rod world. Remember, I'm trying to basically glue a hot rod together with a rock crawler. The factory door handles on the wagon, they're just not jiving with my bear claw latches that I installed before. Got a couple options. I could go ahead and look for a different handle. I could come up with some sort of goofy mechanism inside to work, but instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shave the door handles, basically remove the outside door handle on this wagon. Now, even just a month ago, I would have thought that the easiest way to do that would have been to like fill this little hole right here and fill the hole for the door handle bolt and then continue this little body spear all the way down until it matched. But now I know that if you can, the best thing to do is to put a large patch panel in place. So what I did is I picked up a complete door lower patch panel for a Willys wagon. It has the same body lines that the top of the door has. Then all I'll do is scribe it, cut it out, transfer the size of it onto the door, mark it, cut it, grind them until it fits perfectly. And what I want here is a butt joint. I don't want them overlapping at all. Once I got it fitting in there well, I'm gonna tack the entire thing with the MIG welder, grind it off just to check it, and then I'm actually gonna go back afterwards and then I'll just fusion weld all of the edge with the TIG. That's why I know it's good and strong. Then I'll just have to grind it down, metal finish it out, and then it'll be ready for a very small amount of filler, and it's gonna look damn cool. From the factory, these Willys wagons have like a flush mounted tail light, sits right here. It's got a little chrome bezel on it, and you can see that the previous owner tried to repair a little bit of this. I don't really want to run those taillights because I want this to look a little bit different. So I picked up these actually online. They're just like an LED trailer light. I think they look kind of cool because they kind of got that chrome bezel. But I don't want to just mount it right to the sheet metal because number one, there's a lot of sheet metal here to fix. And number two, then it would kind of be at an angle. So I think what I'll do is I'll build a little plate to step it off from the body a little bit and then maybe do a little accent around the edge. And I'll start by cutting the plate on the plasma table. The taillight mount is going to be cut out of some 1/8" plate, and then once I have it positioned on the body, I'll just skin it and flow it into the back of the wagon with some 18 gauge steel. Before I finish weld it onto the body, I'm going to remove the bracket from the back of the wagon, grind all the rust off, put on some weld through primer, and then weld it in place. Now the whole point of this little round bar here is just simply to dress up this opening. Classic cars like this, they didn't have like hard turns like this, so this will just make a nice smooth transition off the firewall into this step back spot. And with that, pretty much all the sheet metal work is officially done. So the body comes off the frame to turn it upside down to work on the floor. The reason I flipped this rig over was basically finish weld all the bottom of the floor, and then I gotta go around, I gotta seam seal every one of these joints that has spot welds on it. Then I can spray it with some type of undercoating. Haven't decided what I'm gonna use yet. But I also wanna add some additional structure. You can see these little heat signatures right here. These are the seat mounts, and right now they're just attached to the floor pan. What I wanna do is I'm gonna add basically a piece of C-channel to go across, pick this one up, and pick this one up, as well as these two inner ones. That'll just give it a little bit extra strength. This was definitely a pile of work today, flipping this body over and coating the underside of it, but definitely worth it. Now that I got it back up on the lift, I can go underneath it and check. I've got 100% coverage everywhere, and I got no pinholes. The seam sealer has completely sealed the underside of this rig. It's basically like brand new. Now the process to do it was time consuming. You know, I basically had to seam seal every single one of the joints between any of the structural steel or any of the original Willys wagon and the new sheet metal with my SEM seam sealer. And then I had to spray it with the epoxy primer. But before I did that, I had to go through and like prep all the panels. So I basically wiped them down with a solution of vinegar and water, and that just helped etch them. And then I used the epoxy primer. The reason I use the epoxy primer is because it was explained to me like this by a body guy. He said, epoxy primer, it's like glue. It sticks to anything. And then anything you spray after that, well, it will stick to the epoxy primer. So by laying down a good coat of that primer, gave the Raptor liner really something to bite into. If I just sprayed it over the bare metal, it would basically flake right off. But by doing the proper steps, I know that this is gonna last the lifetime of this rig. I did completely ruin one of my shirts though. I got seam sealer all over it, but that's okay. That's why they're called work shirts and not going out to dinner shirts, even though I often wear them out to dinner when I'm going out. We'll see you next time in the Big Tire Garage, working on the Willys Wagon.